Hey guys, it's Yaya Diamond, and I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio. Hey, what's up? It is a wonderful day. I'm having so much fun, and I figured I'd go live. So we are literally live right now. Right now. Well, yeah, we're live, and we're doing marketing. Okay, so you have to know how to market your business, raise funds, capital, whatever you want to call it, money. All right, some tips. I mean, we got everything. We got everything right here today with my guest. I am so excited to have him. Edward DuCoin's on the show today. Thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you being here.
Hey, thanks, Yaya.
Hey. So we were talking a little bit earlier about when you really truly got started in business. Can you please share that with my listeners today?
Well, yeah, I mean, I usually tell people that, I was started at the age of 18, which is true. But I mean, the company that I started at 18 ended up becoming a rather large firm with over 1,000 employees many years later. But I actually had my first real business with customers and, sales when I was 13 years old. And I mean, it wasn't a lemonade stand. We actually ran ski tours up to the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania.
Oh my gosh. So you were already like, hey, I got to make the money right now at 13.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the money was really never the driving force, and maybe sometimes it should have been more. It was always the challenge of building something great, and
Mhm.
really focus on that every single day. I mean, the team members, the people I work with, you know, we just have no desire to run a business. We
Right.
want to, and it's not about becoming, $100 million or $200 million company, but it is about delivering, exceptional value and really like a customer journey from the time they hear about us till they're offering testimonials and referrals, and every little step through that. To me, I find that enjoyable. It's also nice once it's done, and then you're living in the reality of, um, performing and producing and improving. But it's the time investment that really is needed to, get that down. A really great book that we utilize as a base philosophy within the company is Good to Great by Jim Collins. And his like most famous quote from that book is, "Good is the enemy of great." And
Mm.
that's absolutely the truth. There's a lot of really, good businesses, good schools, good whatever you want to put out there, restaurants, but very few of them are committed to being great. And that's really, I think, our driving force.
Right. I agree with you. When you love what you do, it's really not about the money. The money comes, but it's really not the focus point. And you're so right about the good is versus great. I'd rather be great than good. Um, any
Yeah.
day, any day.
Well, I know.
Wow.
I mean, I know a lot of people that have a ton of money, however you want to define that, and they're not really happy. And I
Yeah.
know other people that are just making a nice living and have time for what's important to them, and they're very happy. So you definitely can't equate money to happiness, but you can definitely equate money to the measuring stick of your organization. And it's not just the sales. I mean, the most important word in business is margin.
Mhm.
Sales are really irrelevant. I mean, I mean, everybody could be really impressed that you're a $200 million business, but if you're spending, 199.5 million of that, I'd be more impressed if you had a $1 million business, and we're, as profitable, if not more profitable.
Right. So there's some tips that we're going to be doing today. And I am so excited to do this because I'm going to be having my notebook out and going through this with you as well because I mean, we can only get better, am I right?
That's true. Yeah.
That's right. So, I mean, okay, so tell us about your business and then we can go into some of the tips that you want to give today.
Well, Orbical, we fashion ourselves as, people believe that we're a marketing agency. So if you go to our website, that's kind of pretty much what you see, unless you dig a little deeper. But what we really emulate to be is a business consulting firm disguised as a marketing agency. And that
Mm,
comes down to really two key areas. One is we ask different questions than a typical marketing agency would. Most agencies are focused on the pretty color logo or how nice the website's going to be, or even things like the traffic that comes into the website through search engine optimization. What we try to focus on is what happens when we get the success. Do you have the operational infrastructure to support the sales? And by just having open-ended questions, interesting answers come back that oftentimes we're able to then offer additional solutions. One of the advantages that we have is the age differentiation within our company. I mean, we range
Mhm.
from early 20s to me in the mid 50s. So we're able to bring different experiences. But what I think I'm able to produce or bring to the company and bring to the clients is, tremendous experience of both, you know, really great results and really horrific mistakes.
Mhm.
Um, and so we're able to, help our customers or our clients perform, because bottom line, again, the key word is margin. Um, y- I It's our mission that our clients can't throw enough money at us because we're generating results that are profitable. I mean, you walk up to anybody on the street and say, "Hey, give me 20 bucks," if you have a gun, they may give it to you, but if not, it's like, "Oh, screw you. Why would I give you, why am I giving you $20?"
Right.
But if you walked up to somebody on the street with a $50 bill and say, "Hey, would you trade this for $20?" They do it all day long. So it has
Mhm.
nothing to do with the passing of the $20. It has everything to do with the value that you bring back. And
Mhm.
that's why, people sometimes people have interesting comments about, CEOs and what they're compensated, or professional athletes what they're compensated. They're compensated what they're worth, what the market will bear.
Mhm.
So, whether it's, if you give me $20 and I give you $10 back, that's horrible. If you give
Yeah.
me $20 and I give you $50 back, it's great. So it has
Mhm.
nothing to do with the $20. That's
Right.
irrelevant. It's what's
Mhm.
produced. So
Yeah.
that's what we try to do, not only for our clients, but then pass that down so our clients do that with their customers or clients.
Right, right. I agree with you. It's all about what you're providing that client. And sometimes what you're providing is even more than what the client is paying for. Just like you said, sometimes they don't throw enough money at you because you're giving so much back, which is wonderful. I
Mhm.
love that. Okay, so we are going to be talking today about the marketing aspect and the business, the revenue, like bringing in more money. How do you guys do that? How do you go about that? And is that something that people can actually start before they get to you?
I just thought of something, and since we're live, this is really gutsy of me, and you have no idea
Okay.
I'm even going to do this. You just
Uh-oh.
say a random word. Say a random word, and I'll tell you what comes to mind from a marketing or business perspective. And did we discuss this before, you and I,
No.
that I was going to ask you this? Any
No.
random word you want. You just hit me with the word.
Promotion.
Promotion. I mean, that's fine, but that's a marketing word. Give me with something more unique, like iguana, but don't say iguana because I have no idea.
Okay. Uh okay, so a random
Because if
word.
I'm a
Oh
good
my
marketing
gosh.
person, I should be able to take what you're bringing to me
Mhm.
and put that in a context that could relate to your customers or those people, listening to us right now.
Video.
What was that?
Video.
Video. Okay. So th- that's interesting because what is good video?
Mhm.
Um, I know it's funny. We're doing something right now with a client where they went out and they hired a really great video production company and made it look slick. They also did something on their iPhone,
Mhm.
and it was pretty grainy. It was probably an old iPhone because it really didn't look good. The lighting was horrible. The actual results that we got through the marketing were better with the grainy video than with this high end produced video. Um, so that actually leads to a really key point. What I'm not, I don't like necessarily arguing. I mean, I will, I like great conversation. I
Mhm.
also like great conversation where there's a valid point, like the person's making valid points. It's not like we're having a conversation where the earth is flat. It's like, come on.
Right.
Um, and so when you have a really great conversation and a great debate, you can, amazing things come about. But one of the interesting things about owning a marketing agency is there is no debate.
Hmm.
There's really no debate. I
Right.
mean, we look at things for clients and say, "Oh, I don't like that logo," or "I can't stand the way that's worded," or "That video." Did you notice you had somebody walking behind you, or whatever it may be. But once you get to a level of acceptability, and I'm not using that word like um, just like the minimal accepted. I'm talking about acceptability at a highest standard. So if you think of maybe Ritz Carlton or Rolls Royce, I mean their level of acceptability is
Oh
very,
yeah.
very high. So when I say level of acceptability, when we think the website's exceptional, when we
Hmm.
think the computer program's exceptional, that's all fine and good. But just because we think it's exceptional, especially the easier example would be an advertisement. We
Hmm.
don't have to argue about an advertisement. I mean, we have great conversation within the company, but the market will tell us what is good. So back to video,
Hmm.
the market will tell you, and especially with today's tools, you can do things today for less than $200 than for what you could do today for $200 um, would have cost you thousands of dollars even just 5 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
you can do movies on iPhones.
Hmm.
Um, so that random word, video, led to the market will tell you
Hmm.
what is effective, and don't you think you know because you don't know.
No, no.
You have
No.
experience that could tell you, you know, but no.
I got you. I mean, could it have been that it was a more personable, intimate video that they did? People maybe felt more connected to the grainy video, even though it was grainy.
Absolutely. That's why in sales, if you take somebody that, and I'm making up a random number, 10 years of experience in sales,
Hmm.
okay, um, and you take somebody, but they've just been doing it, it's whatever, or you take somebody that's new, but they're enthusiastic. Now, the new enthusiastic person doesn't necessarily know everything, but they're enthusiastic. And oftentimes in sales, if you don't know, you're not coming across as polished, you're making the person feel more comfortable.
Hmm.
So again, it comes down to a level of comfort, like you just said. So if I can look at a video and think, oh, I want to hire a local company.
Hmm.
If a local company goes out and does a high end, $25,000 video, it actually could turn some people off. It's like, well, no, I just want to hire Joe the plumber. I don't need this plumbing conglomerate coming in, in my home. And
Right.
boy, if they can afford a $25,000 video, I bet you they're really expensive. So you're right. I mean, there's the perception behind everything, and that's really what it is perception.
Mm.
I mean, when an advertisement or something in writing appeals, it's because the perception is affecting that.
Right. Right. Wow. Wow. That's a big, big like turn, because a lot of people think that they do have to do that big time, money making thing when they really maybe start off with something more personable.
Yeah, and also I love marketing that throws it right back in people's faces. And so just an example here is if you don't have a ton of money for video, say it.
Hmm.
Say it. I'm a small local store and I could have sold my car um, or I could have done whatever to go have a fancy video, but I'm filming this on my phone because having the best equipment for my customers at the best price is more important than a slick video. You see, so now you took the thing and you threw it right back at them. It's like, wow, that's pretty cool. This video
Wow.
isn't so great, and he or she did it for me because
Hmm.
they're going to be a better company or better service provider
Mm.
versus having a slick video.
Right.
I know, like I for many years I was involved in investing, angel investing, working with VCs, working with entrepreneurs, and one of the things we would tell entrepreneurs is do not get a nice office in the beginning. Do not invite your a VC to a fancy office because they'll look at the fancy conference room and all this other stuff. It's like, oh, these guys are going to blow my money. So again, it gets back to perception.
Right. Definitely, definitely. You know, we are live right now on all of the stations. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter. Thank you guys so much. And also Case Quarter and AMG Entertainment. You know, when it comes down to marketing and promoting your stuff, what kind of advice and tips can you give us? Because this is the thing. Everyone needs money I mean, it is said you need money to make money. Is this like just like, is it real?
It helps. It certainly helps. And the reason why it helps is because you can make more mistakes.
Mm,
But if you're not
I don't make
measuring
mistakes.
and if you're not having KPIs, key performance indicators,
Mm-hmm.
you don't even know if you're making mistakes or not. So money's important, but measuring is even more important. Because if you can
Mm,
measure it, and you know the whole thing, if you can measure it, you can manage it. But it's true. You know, you
right.
need those indicators to know. And you know, your measuring tool could be a piece of paper. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I spent this much on Facebook ads. I got this many replies. Of
Mm-hmm.
those replies, I had this many sales. You know, the average sale was this. My cost for advertising was this. It doesn't have to be more sophisticated than that. I
Right.
mean, I've always been an entrepreneur. So, I mean, I've
Mm-hmm.
had many people over the years tell me that I could never work in a, you know, Fortune 500 company because um, actually, even when my company, I'm very proud of the fact that I started a business in my bedroom at 18, and then 14 years later, now my brother was my partner, and I had many wonderful team members, but we still took that thing from $102 in a bedroom to doing around 22 million privately, and then a roll up we did over 100 million.
Wow.
Um, and I was always never fighting with the board, but like the board of directors, once we got that big, were so focused on what they had to be focused on, which was the shareholder value and driving the stock. But
Mm-hmm.
I was always focused on, well, you know, are we talking with our team members? And because they're the ones that are actually getting the results.
Right.
So when it comes to the money, it really comes down to marketing and advertising and promotion, all that stuff. Don't start with money. Start with figuring out how you're going to measure that money.
Mm.
You know, because you know, you never want to. I mean, no matter how rich you are, you never want to flush $20 down the toilet. And if you do,
No.
then you're silly. So you have to
Right.
figure out what you're going to measure. You know, the beautiful thing about doing business in 2022 versus doing business in 2002 is you have the ability for there's a lower barrier to entry and a quicker time frame. Because in 2002 and certainly in 1992, if you were a small business owner, you had to take out an advertisement in the local newspaper or do postcards or maybe in a local magazine. And even if you were a bigger company, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Fortune 500 company, my company started in 1984, got bigger in 86, really grew. So by 92, 93, we were doing some decent work, but we would do advertising campaigns in magazines or even direct mail. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we love direct mail because we could start to get performance feedback within 7 to 10 days.
Mm.
You know, I can launch an ad, you know, and like in the home improvement space,
Mm-hmm.
I can go to Angie's List or Thumbtack, turn on an ad, happen to maybe generate 3 or 4 replies within a few hours, and turn it off. So I'm not
Wow.
wasting my marketing, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting what I need. So again,
Mm-hmm.
yes, money helps. It also helps to really stand out in the crowd.
Yeah.
You know, it really makes me physically ill to my stomach, especially when if I drive down the road and I see a business like, oh, they're not going to make it. You know,
Mm.
and I love it when I'm wrong because Lord knows I'm not always right. But like there's a local restaurant by us that I live in southern New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
On Philadelphia, right by Philadelphia, right by the stadiums, and right by the Philadelphia airport, there's all these billboards on 95. You know, 95 goes from Maine down to Florida.
Oh yeah.
This local little restaurant took out this billboard that had to cost $10,000 a month for a restaurant that is like 10 miles away in a small little strip mall. It's like, who's making this decision? And who it is I believe, an egotistical owner that said, hey, guess what? I can have a billboard on 95. And there's no, here's another point behind the measuring. Don't do things in the beginning you can't measure. You
Mm.
know, I've had small businesses, medium-sized companies say, yeah, when another agency came in, they were talking about branding. Screw you. You're not going to do any branding. You know, now you could do branding in a tight, tiny market,
Hmm.
and like this restaurant should have done that.
Right.
And I could think of many things that they could have done, but branding, no. You know, that's not going to happen for a small business like that. So it's really direct marketing that's measurable. You have to understand the metrics up front,
Mm-hmm.
and then you test.
Right, right. I heard someone say to me one time, they said, it's just like throwing a rock into a pond and you're seeing the ripples. And in the beginning, the ripple is very small, right around the rock. And that's how the marketing should begin. And as you get bigger, you can expand from there. But always work with that small ripple. Is that something that, we can kind of take to heart?
Well, no, yeah, the beautiful thing is once you know, the reason why you need that metric,
Mm-hmm.
because then now you've got the measurement. So you're always trying to beat that number. You know, if your cost per lead is 16, whatever 16 is, well, how do we get it to 15?
Mm-hmm.
Or how do we get it to 20? Now, why would you want your cost per lead go from 16 to 20? Because if your conversion goes from 15% to 40%, your
Mm-hmm.
cost per sale is less. I mean, one of the things when we started, the only word, I mean, every word matters. Customer service, customer
Mm-hmm.
loyalty, employee engagement. Well, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I could spew a ton of words, but every one of those words are dependent upon the key word, which is margin.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to look at the cost. If we're talking about direct marketing now, the cost to generate the lead, then the quality of lead is based upon oftentimes the cost per sale. But then you have to factor in, okay, if you have different salespeople working it, what's the different results? Um, so that's where, that's why I've always loved direct marketing because it's so measurable.
Yeah.
Um, Versus, I think things like billboards are great, but um, that's again more into the branding zone, and most businesses shouldn't even consider that unless it's in a tight market. I've seen local businesses in my area do very well. You see their billboards all the time, but it's also affected or compounded with direct mail or Facebook or other forms of advertising.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've never really thought about getting a billboard. I've always done direct marketing or Facebook, or even gone out and hand deliver some stuff, or pass out flyers sometimes at different events. So these things, and you got the guerrilla marketing. Is that still something viable in this day and age with COVID?
Oh, of course, maybe more so, because like you mentioned about handing out flyers. The uh, you have to watch it with putting things in people's mailbox because technically that's not legal.
Right.
But yes, guerrilla marketing is absolutely, and there's so many things. Again, you can do. You could. Actually, my brother years and years ago had a business idea, and we walked up and down all the blocks at the Jersey Shore. I think it was Ocean City. He had an idea to watch over people's homes in the winter months when nobody's down there. The pipes
Mhm.
burst, things like that.
Yeah.
And we had to literally walk up and down. Well, now, I mean, Instagram, Nextdoor, Facebook, I can pinpoint and target those people exactly, which is another point. It doesn't take that much to become an expert, or at least really good. Um, I love it when people say, "Oh, I don't even know where to begin." Well, Google it. Go to
Yeah.
YouTube. Like I don't know what cryptocurrency is. Well, carve out 60 minutes, watch YouTube videos, and you'll know more than 95%. So why I'm saying this though is, um, somebody, if they're watching now, well, I don't know what to do. Okay, Google guerrilla marketing for small businesses. Google direct marketing for small businesses. Google social media marketing.
Here's what I found on the web.
Oh, I said Google, and Google came up.
That's
Um,
right.
That's pretty funny. Google gave me my
It
answer.
doesn't happen when I say it though.
But yeah, I know. But so like with how do you do Facebook marketing? You
Mhm.
know, it's really not that difficult. I mean, people love to sit down and, watch a half hour sitcom, which is great. That's important. You have to rest. But boy, a 30-minute overview, you can at least get the basics of what's going on. The other
Yeah.
thing for small business owners is there's all kinds of groups, whether it be LinkedIn or Facebook. I'm pretty sure, and I'm not part of one, but I'm pretty sure there's a Google advertising Facebook group,
Mhm.
or excuse me. Well, of course there would be Google, Google ads or Nextdoor ads or Facebook ads. So, um, it does take some education.
Right. Mhm. It definitely does. Okay, so marketing is great, but if you don't have any funds to market, then marketing is not always great. I mean, you have to go the free route. So how do you raise funds to keep your business going? How do you do that? Do you have any pointers for us for that one?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, just like you mentioned the word, you know, doesn't it take money to make money? Um, and I always never really like that statement anyway, because it takes money to earn money. You earn it, you
Yeah.
don't make it. Um, and so, but to do that, you have to start at an earlier spot. And that earlier spot is, hey, let me know what my metrics are, because otherwise I'm just throwing money out there and hoping it's working. Now, advertising, you throw money out there and hope it works. But at
Mm.
least if you measure it, you know if you're improving. So when it comes to raising funds, Google it. Meaning, I've had dozens of people over the past 20 years come to me with business ideas. And as they're sitting there talking to me and how great it's going to be, I Google it and I've got competition there.
Mhm.
I remember one gentleman I met with at a diner. And they had Wi-Fi. This is years ago, and he was telling me all about this app he wanted to create. And I said, "Oh, I'm not being rude. I just want to look something up." And he's talking, and I'm googling, and I spin the computer around. I said, "This," and he's like, "Oh my god!" That I said, "So you?" I said, "This is cool because." And I actually think I did buy breakfast for him, but it's like cool. I get a free breakfast out of this, but you can't. You have to be prepared. So when it comes to fundraising, you have to be prepared.
Right.
You also have to know that it changes.
Mm.
In some respects, when you run your own business, you're a single person with no
Mm.
kids. Okay.
Right. Gotcha.
When you raise funds, that's the second you've brought in funds, your entire relationship to your business is now shifted. Like earlier when I said, I ran my company, it was nice, it was private, we grew and everything was fun. But boy, when we had a board of directors, I mean, when we sold the company and I had to vote to sell the company. I had to vote to lose my great job, lose my great compensation because it was the right thing for the shareholders.
Mm.
So when you bring money in, I don't care if it's $100 or $100 million, your relationship to the company has changed.
Mm.
And you're no longer the key person. So um, it raising money is important, but at the same time, it's not the be all end all. I mean,
Mm.
I know a lot of entrepreneurs, especially well, you go through the phases. We're in a phase right now. You go through the phases in like the late 90s. Well, 1999, people were throwing about money like crazy, and then it
Yeah.
died out in like 2001, and then it came back in 2005, and then it died out again, and then it came back, and now we're back where people are getting money. But people spend a lot of time raising money versus working their business. Um, the other thing you have to do when
Yeah.
it comes to raising money is don't be greedy. I mean,
Mm.
I think the show Shark Tank's cool. I think it's not realistic.
Mhm.
Well, it's not realistic. I mean, first off, they're technically creating securities fraud, but that's a whole other conversation. Um, and I'm sure, I mean, let's put it this way: what you're not seeing is all the legal disclaimers that you sign before you even go on there.
Mhm.
Um, but I cannot believe anybody would not do a deal with one of those sharks. Like, are you friggin' insane? Now, yes, I know there's the cases of like Ring Doorbell where they didn't do the job and he became a billionaire. But a lot of entrepreneurs, this is a true story. I
Mm-hmm.
had somebody that I was working very closely with. I was a consultant with them. And prior to me joining the company, I'm not going to take credit for this. They raised $5.5 million. I was brought on board to position the company for the next round. And the next round of funding we wanted to raise was $35 million. The 35 million would have put the company at a valuation of 100 million. So as a round number, they were going to get like 35% of the company just to make it easy.
Mm-hmm.
The CEO realized, though, that between the other people, he would go from X percent, whatever it was, 70% down to like 45%. And he had it in his head, I have to be majority shareholder. And I'm like, and I won't use his name. It's like, say the word dude, because I probably said, dude, are you being serious? I said, right now your net worth is X. Everybody's positioning this company that it could be sold to a major automobile manufacturer, and that was the goal. So we used an engine builder, Cummins, Volvo, people like that. We want to sell this thing for about $500 million.
Oh my gosh.
If you only owned 25% of this company, you're worth $125 million. So again, it's almost like I went back earlier and I said, your cost per lead is 16.
Mm-hmm.
You would think I want to get the cost per lead down to, 15, 14, 13. No, it's about the margin. I can easily argue, and I see it every single day, where a cost per lead of 20 is better than a cost per lead of 16.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was not, he's looking at the wrong metric. Don't look at the
Yeah.
percentages. Look
Yeah.
at the value. I mean, Meg
Exactly.
Whitman, who was the CEO of eBay years and years and years ago, she was interviewed and she says, how does it feel to only own I think it was like 2%. How does it feel to only own 2% of eBay? And she says, well, 2% of a few billion ain't so bad. You know,
Oh,
again, it
that's
comes down
right.
to knowing your metrics and knowing your numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. I would take 2%.
Yeah. So to directly answer your question, first
Mm-hmm.
off, make sure there's no competition or you can differentiate yourself.
Right.
Number two, be realistic with how much money you're going to make. I worked with somebody recently that told me they were going to go out and raise $1 million, and I laughed at them, and I got, I mean, I didn't laugh at them like negative, but I said, come on, well, what's your justification for that?
Mm-hmm.
So be realistic and know that your relationship with the entire entity changes the second you take that in, because
Right.
now you've got a fiduciary responsibility. And take responsibility. I mean, I've got things in my life that no one will ever know because it's nobody's,
Mm-hmm.
but there's things that I've done in my life to protect the company or protect the shareholders or protect the employees, that those are the things I'm actually most proud of, is
Right.
things nobody will ever know that I did. And so that's probably, as an entrepreneur, I've never thought of it this way, but the thing I'm probably most proud of is the responsibility of being an entrepreneur that I take.
Mm.
Um, and then there's, that's a whole other
Yeah.
conversation.
Definitely an entire different
Yeah.
conversation. But wow. Okay, the margin. What are your metrics? Your percentages may be the best thing that you can be looking at instead of trying to be greedy. Go with the percentages because that is really where the wealth is. I mean, if like you said, the what is it, CEO of eBay, she had 2% back then. She was one of the CEOs, or
She was
I'm
the
not sure if
CEO.
she's
Yeah. Meg
still
Whitman.
now.
Yeah.
But 2% of a few $1 billion is a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
No,
know,
and the whole thing from Wall Street, the movie Greed is Good, or Greed is Great, or whatever it is. You damn right it is. You darn
hmm
right it is.
wow,
Well, it is. I mean, the real wins in business are when you can do something good and be compensated for it.
hmm
That's why, the top surgeons in the world are paid a tremendous amount of money because they're doing good and they're getting compensated for it.
hmm
So, like, companies brag, and I think if I was to rate my company right now on a scale of 1 to 10, I actually probably wouldn't even put us past a 5 compared to what I want to be at that exceptional level of employee engagement and training. I mean, I don't even like the word employee, team members and things like that.
Mhm.
Um, but the you do employee training, which is very altruistic, to maximize the value of the people that are providing services for the customers. Now, what they get out of that is they now have increased the value to the company. And some of the best companies in the world, GE is not known for this today, but when
Mhm.
Jack Welch was the CEO back in the 90s and early 2000s, people would try to get into the GE training program and leave the company. And GE knew
Mm.
it. Their training
Mm.
was so good. Same thing with Goldman Sachs. Do you know how hard it is to get a job with Goldman Sachs? But when
Wow.
you have that job, when people would see GE on the resume, or today they see Goldman Sachs on the resume, that's as valuable as going to Harvard, Yale, Penn, Stanford, whoever, because
Wow.
you've gone through such exceptional training. But
Mhm.
why do they do that? Why did GE do that? They didn't sit and say, "Oh, we're going to spend millions of dollars training our people." It's a return on investment.
Right.
Everything. One of the other things that I really strongly believe in, because it comes back to margin, is there's absolutely no expenses in business. And anybody who thinks that there's an expense really probably shouldn't be in business. It's what's the return on investment? Getting
Mhm.
back to the thing, if I come up to you and say, hand me $20, screw you. If I come up to you and say, please hand me $100. Oh, by the way, I'm going to give you $200 back in return as we exchange it. You'd run to the ATM to get $100.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, I want to thank you. What can people expect when they come to your company, and how do you organize that? How do you start that relationship with a new client?
Well, I'm proud of the fact that all of my businesses, we take great pride in not working with people.
Mm.
Um, because, and this is from my early direct marketing days through today. Actually, one of the ways that I really built the company years ago is I would go to potential clients and say, look, you probably can't work with me, and I probably can't work with you because you either need a bigger agency. Thank God, eventually we got to the point where I could say you need a smaller agency. You need a regional agency. You need a specialized agency. But I will tell you, I know people in all these categories, and I can help you ask the right questions and point you in the right direction. So
Mm.
what happened with that is I got into more doors than I would have. Even if I quote closed the same number, because I was in more doors, I closed more. But my three biggest clients I ever had at my original company came
Mhm.
from a relationship that was established when we were too small.
Mm.
So then Disney was one of them. I met with this,
Wow.
I met with a gentleman from Disney in New York City, and it was a joke. I'm in my young 20s and whatever, but I maintained contact. And 5, 6 years later, we had a chance to work with them.
Mm.
Um, so when people come to our organization, it's really three things: are they right for us? Are we right for them? And there's so much conversation that goes into that. Why would you hire an agency when you can build your own website on Wix, and do a pretty decent job?
Mm.
So the dynamics of what's available to people are there. And then we need, from a selfish perspective, because I have team members that I need to take care of, and they've got specific, goals that they want to achieve. We have to make sure that there's going to be margin in it for us, and there's upward mobility. Um,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, in some respects, we invest in our clients as much as they invest in us.
Yeah,
Because,
that's good.
well, the fact is that there's 168 hours in a week. I mean, even if I'm only working 40, which that would be a delight. Um,
I
you know,
know that's right. Oh my gosh.
yeah, but when you love what you do, it's really not work. And plus, I love
Right.
working in today's age because I can take my laptop anywhere.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I could work at the beach if I chose to, and people would be like, "Why the hell are you working at the beach?" It's because you're sitting at your cubicle and I'm at the beach. Um, but what it comes back to, I if I can work with you and make one, whatever one represents, or I can work with another person making two, you got to give me a reason why I'd only want to make one. It's the same thing from investing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of great companies don't get funded, and it's not because they're, well, let's put it this way: a lot of good companies don't get funded, and it's not because they're a bad company,
Right.
but those funds can be deployed better elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah. I gotcha. I gotcha. Wow. So I want everybody to check the, you know, if you're looking for someone, or you're looking to expand, or you're looking to just ask some questions, this gentleman right here, you need to go to him right here, Mr. Edward DuCoin, right? I hope I said that right. DuCoin?
you did,
I
you did,
did.
you did.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He can help you out. Definitely go with him. You know what? To be passionate about what you do, I see that passion in him. I see that he really wants the best for you. And maybe we're just good, but we're not great. And
Mhm.
so we need to get to the great and get past the good.
It's actually easier to be great. You
It's
know,
easier to be great.
it's easier to be great, yeah, because the journey to being great and
Hmm.
the commitment to being great is you're building in the processes, the procedures, the checks and balances. So by having, see, here's the other thing is like in a creative agency, okay,
Hmm.
if you, and this applies for everything. It could be scientific, it could be educational, it could be military. But if you know the stuff's going to be done, like if you know when you get into the fighter jet that everything's in its place and everything is set to go and the tanks are full and whatever it may be, then you can be focused on the mission. But if you have to
Mm,
worry, hey, did anybody fill the gas? Oh my God, is this hatch going to close? Oh, look, the seatbelt's broken. You can't be focused on the mission. So it's
exactly.
easier to be great. It's also easier to be big. I can tell you, I've run well, as small as you can possibly run a business, you know, in a spare bedroom of my parents' home, to having, you know, a dozen call centers and you know, over 1,000 employees. It's easier to be bigger, but but you can't get bigger unless you're great. So the good news is it's easier to be great. You
Mm,
just have to be absolutely committed to it and work it every day.
mm.
And here's an interesting thing.
Hmm.
What if I was to tell you to go brush your teeth? What would you do?
I would ask you
No,
why
no,
I
no, no,
already
no. I'm
did
telling
it.
you, hey, do me a
Yeah, like
favor. Just
I just go
go
brush
brush your
my
teeth. What
teeth.
would you do?
I go brush my teeth. I
Okay,
probably
you're right.
would.
You go brush your teeth, right?
Yeah.
So if we're working together and I say to you, yeah, yeah, go brush your teeth, what would you do? If I'm really a great guy and there's a reason for doing it, what would you do? Like,
I
not that
wouldn't
your
even.
breath
I would
smells
close
or
my
you got
mouth
whatever.
and
Just go brush
say,
your teeth.
excuse
What
me.
would you do?
I close my mouth and go say, excuse me. I'll be
Yeah,
right
I know,
back.
but what would you do? You go brush your teeth, right?
Yeah, I would.
Okay. What would you do if you told an alien to go brush their teeth?
What would I do
Alien
if
came, never been on Earth before. They do have teeth. They do have two hands. Go brush your teeth. What would they
they
do?
probably wouldn't know what to
No, I'll
do?
tell you exactly what we would do. We would tell them, okay, you walk into that room. There's an area that has a basin. The basin's
Hmm.
got a faucet. This thing's a faucet. The left side's hot, the right side's cold. You're probably going to use the cold. You then turn the faucet to get water going. You then take this thing, which is a cup, you put the cup underneath, you get some
Mm,
water. You can leave the water going or not. That's really up to you. And we'll talk about more of that in lesson number 2. You then take this tube. The tube has what's called toothpaste in it. You unscrew the cap. You then put the cap down because you don't want to drop the cap or lose it. You take this other thing that's called a toothbrush. Now, the bristles on top of here, you then put the toothpaste on the toothbrush. You then put it in your mouth. You've got four quarters of your mouth. You spend a little bit of time in each, ideally 2 minutes. When you're done, you spit it out. And that's a funny thing, but I'll show you what you can do there. Then you take the glass of water. You then rinse your mouth out. Sometimes you have to do it twice. You get all that out of there. You then take the cap, you put it back on the toothpaste, and you put the toothbrush in the thing. So you said you were going to go, I asked you to go brush your teeth. Do you
hmm.
realize, you know? So one of the things that I used to do years ago, my daughter is 28 now. And
Hmm.
when she was 8, so we're on about 20 years, I would say to my team members, if Emily at 8 years old could explain it to her grandmother, who was 70 years old, and the grandmother could go off and execute that procedure or process or report, then
Hmm.
and only then is it bulletproof. So,
Mm,
it's kind of cool. I mean, if you think about that, how would you teach an alien to brush the teeth and break
yeah.
it down? But if you break it down, it's the same thing with I mean, I flew airplanes for a brief period of time until I got scared to death.
Hmm.
Um, but airplane pilots go through checklists. That's why,
Yeah.
millions of planes take off and land, all the, monthly, whatever the number is, but
Right.
how many of them crash? And do you realize how many things could go wrong? How many
Oh,
hundreds of thousands of things could go wrong on every single flight? But
I
yet
do
we get on the
realize
airplane
that.
not even thinking about it, you
I
know?
do. Every
Well, you
time I
know
get
what I mean,
on.
though. I mean, statistically,
Right.
it's obviously a statistically an irrational fear. But you know what I mean, though. All the
Yeah.
things, all those little parts that can break,
Hmm.
everything that can happen. But when it comes down to the basics, the pilot has a checklist,
Yeah.
And here's the other interesting thing. That pilot's checklist is the same whether it's their very first commercial flight as the captain, meaning they're in charge, or they've been doing it for 40 years. It's the
Mm,
exact same checklist.
mm,
And
mm.
that's the thing too. I work with some clients or people in my past that it's funny. You also within procedures, you forget why you started doing it. And you kind of, it's like, um, if you take a poster and a rolled up poster and you lay it flat, and then 3 minutes, lay it flat and you put books on the four corners, and 5 minutes later you come back and you pick up the books, it's going to roll right back up.
Hmm.
You have to have the procedures, which mean in this case the books laying it flat, and maintain them long enough and consistently enough that it doesn't immediately go back.
Mm, mm. That's big. So there's a lot more to this. People are just going to have to go ahead and go, like you said, Google it or go to you. And so I went ahead and I'm going to put your information in the description box, as well as if you're looking over here, you'll see right there, you'll see down below in blue,
Actually,
Orbical, right?
for me it's over there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the website. Go ahead and go there and check it out, read the information. And if you think that you need more help, contact them. Definitely, definitely. I want to thank you so very much for being on the show. I appreciate it. What a wonderful thing. What kind of advice do you give to a company that may not need your services, but maybe on the road to being great?
Well, that's a great point because you said, you reach out to me. Don't reach out to me.
Mm-mm.
I mean, seriously, reach out to me if you think that you could, be a great client of a marketing agency or you want to build something. But prior to that, do your own due diligence, do your own research. There's so much material out there. And here's the thing: I wrote something one time, and I probably screwed this up, especially since we're live. But um, um, uh, all 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 entrepreneurs are business people, but not all business people are entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
All warriors, um, what's the word I used? I'll just say military, but all warriors are soldiers, but not all soldiers are warriors. To be an entrepreneur, you have to be a warrior. And that's the truth. I do not consider most business people entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
I consider them business people. They meet payroll. They've got great lives. They've got employees. But who I want to work with is the entrepreneurs that want to disrupt and change things,
Mm.
because that's what gets my rocks off.
Right.
I mean, I respect the franchise owners. I respect the people that run great businesses, run great restaurants. But what I love in entrepreneurship is, marry it with all their money and all their experience. And these two guys, one guy was sleeping on a couch where came up with the idea for Airbnb,
Mm.
Hertz, Marriott, Avis, yellow cabs up in New York, all these big ass, wonderful companies with tons of money and tons of executives. These couple guys came up with Uber, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that's the thing that, I'm working. My sister company is a company called Addicts and More, which does insulation. No desire to install and have three little trucks, but we've got some ways that we think we're going to disrupt the industry
Mm-hmm.
and to exponentially grow. So
Right.
that's how, to answer your question, 99% of the people listening would get more out of going to Google and YouTube and really great people than have to worry about working with an agency.
Mhm.
But if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's even a higher level of commitment, and that's the fun part.
Yep, that definitely is the fun part. I find myself sometimes not sleeping like I'm supposed to. But I mean,
Don't do
again,
that. Don't do that.
no, yeah, no.
Do you know how many hours Jeff Bezos sleeps? And
How
he slept
many?
this way ever since the company started. 8 to 10 hours a night.
Well, I do that. It's just when I get that done.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, at least you do that, because a lot of people, a lot of people, oh, I only slept 3 hours last night. Screw you.
No,
You're really
no,
going
no.
to do more harm than good.
Yeah,
So
yeah, definitely that. No, I get my 8 to 10 hours. It's not
good for
that. It's
you.
just when I get my 8 to 10 hours. That's
Oh, there
gonna
you
be
go. There you
Yeah,
go.
that's gonna be the question mark. But I do get it. But definitely, you guys, hey, like you said, Google, study, YouTube is great. But if you want to disrupt something, if you want to be that disruptor, then definitely give them in a call, a holler, a email,
Yeah,
a
and just so
shout
you're
out,
clear,
whatever.
I would welcome a conversation from anybody. Somebody
Yeah.
wants to open up a corner candy store, give me a call, because I do most of my phone calls when I'm driving, usually to Dunkin' Donuts, which I've had two today. So I'd be happy to speak with anybody. I don't want to come off like this arrogant jerk, like, oh, you got to be a disruptor. I love to talk to business people and help out in any way possible. But I also know for a fact that, again, there's limited time in the day, and there's some really great sources out there. I don't want to talk to anybody at 2 o'clock in the morning, but if you can't sleep, Google most any topic and go to YouTube. You're going to find exceptional, ideas and
Mhm.
at least to get a baseline of what's going on.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. This has been such a wonderful, wonderful pleasure of having you on the show and being live for almost an hour. I love
Wait, this was
conversations
live?
like this. This is live,
Oh
darling.
my God. Oh my
We're
God.
live. What's up? We're
Yeah.
live. But if you have any questions, definitely post them
Glad I
below.
didn't curse. Would you have to
Definitely
beat
post.
me out if I did? I think you
Huh,
would.
what?
Would you have had to beat me out if I did? Like beat, I guess you
No,
couldn't because we're live.
no,
Wow,
it's
you really trusted me.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's just, hey, we did this.
Yeah.
We did this, and we are going to keep doing this. Thank you guys so much for just joining us and being a part of this conversation and marketing and entrepreneurship, raising funds and things like that. There's more to come, and definitely, if you have any questions, like he said, give him a ring. He's available. I'm going to put that website in the
And also
description
the
box
Twitter
below.
is also a great way to connect too, because
Yeah, I was putting that out
that's
there too.
I get
Edward
lots
DuCoin.
of messages, and that's really cool, because I
Edward
can then
DuCoin.
just reply that way too.
That's right there. So they can go ahead and add you on their Twitter, or they can go to the website, either or. We're going to have both of that in the description box below, so you guys can actually go ahead and get that done. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you so much, Edward, for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Yaya. I appreciate it too.
I had such a good time. You guys, thank you again so much, and don't forget to dare to be different. Until next time, guys. Bye.
I did to be different. I did.